Next, we have another song. Page 359, We Make Our Own World. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing Karen Hannon, who's going to bring us a message which sounds very intriguing to me, embracing the power of positive. Thanks, Karen.
Well, that was a fun song to lead into it. I'm always thankful to sit close to Ian during those parts that get a little tricky. I just follow his lead.
Don't sit too close.
Well, I was looking at just words. You know, I love words. Optimism and pessimism. So are naturally you a look on the sunny side of life type of person? Or is that more of a challenge for you? How many of you are look on the sunny side of life people? How many of you are also morning people? I think it goes together. 2 of the Brandon boys in my household are not morning people. And yeah, and Logan and I are. So I'll leave you to figure out who are not. There's a story that goes like this about identical twins. And even though Logan and Connor are not identical twins, they are often the 2 sides of life. One was a hope-filled optimist. Everything is coming up roses, he would say. The other twin was a sad and hopeless pessimist. He thought that Murphy, as in Murphy's Law, was an optimist. The worried parents of the boys brought them to the local psychologist. He suggested to the parents a plan to balance the twins' personalities. On their next birthday, put them in separate rooms to open their gifts. Give the pessimist the best toys you can afford, and give the optimist a box of manure. The parents followed these instructions and carefully observed the results. When they peeked in on the pessimist, they heard him audibly complaining. I don't like the color of this computer. I bet this calculator will break. I don't like the game. I know someone who's got a bigger toy car than this. Tiptoeing across the corridor, the parents peeked in and saw their little optimist gleefully throwing the manure up in the air. He was giggling and playing. He said, "You can't fool me. When there's this much manure, there's got to be a pony." There's got to be a pony in there somewhere. Right? Yeah. Oh, I just wrinkled up the blue papers. Sorry. I think it's back in order. The broaden and build theory says that positive emotions momentarily broaden people's attention and thinking. enabling individuals to draw flexibly on higher level connections and wider ranges of ideas. This has personally been quite the challenge for me the last couple weeks. I've had an issue that I'm dealing with in my life, and as such, when I'm working on a talk, feels like the topic of that talk is often a challenge that I am confronting in my life, so that I can be more personally attuned to what I'm hopefully sharing with you. And Russ, in our relationship, Russ is very much the optimist. Even though I look like I might be on the sunny side type of person, more often than not, I'm just trying to manipulate and control the underlying circumstances to make sure that everything will come out roses. More often than not, Russ will be the one saying, everything will turn out just fine. It always does. I'm like, yeah, because I control every detail. Which I know is not true. It's very interesting, though, when you're cognitively trying to think positively about a situation, how much more you have the ability to be mindfully present in the moment. What about this situation am I reflecting on? What about it is positive? What can I learn from this? All of those kinds of things cognitively help you to think better. Psychologically, you're adding resilience to the adversity. We've talked a lot about resilience in the past. Socially, you're more focused on giving and receiving love. And physically, you have better sleep and overall health when you choose to try and focus on the positive. Allowing positive emotions to be our focus, we are able to impact our positive affect and expand our thinking. So we've talked about positive affect in the past as well. And I kind of wanted to correct something that maybe I overemphasized. Because this study that I've been recently doing shows that not only does positive affect increase your resilience and your positive thinking, but when you have a smile on your face, you have to be doing it sincerely. So I don't want to encourage people to just be fake, walking around with big smiles on our faces, because that doesn't work either, physically or cognitively or spiritually. But what I was thinking just about this morning when I heard about Ada, and a smile came to my face, not a big cheesy grin, but a smile about how beautiful she was, Ian. What a beautiful woman. I didn't know her well, but just beautiful. And that's that kind of beauty that only comes from what's in here. That just showed on her face, and she radiated it even so peacefully and beautifully even till the end. But that's the smile that I'm talking about, not just a twinge of one through our grief and our tears, perhaps at times. I recently had a couple in the hospital that I spent a lot of time with, and they were sincerely joyful people. Even though he was not able to communicate in the time that I spent with them, she communicated on behalf of them that through their marriage, it had been decades that they had been married. But they had a covenant together of joy. A covenant that said no matter what their circumstances would be, they would look on the sunny side. And they would choose to focus on the positive. There was some discussion, perhaps, if maybe she wasn't understanding the reality of the direness of the situation. Like maybe she doesn't get it, that he's not going to make it. Maybe we need to confront this facade that she has of smiling through her tears. And I simply suggested that perhaps it was just the covenant they made between themselves and their God, that no matter what came in this earthly life, they knew that they would be transitioning to another life and that this wasn't the end for them. And perhaps it was actually a level of depth of faith and spirituality that we weren't connecting with because of the depth of the covenant that these two made together. Dale Carnegie says, "It isn't what you have or who you are or where you are or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about it." So I've been learning recently more about the power of affirmative prayer. I wasn't raised with affirmative prayer. I was raised with a more begging, seeking thought about who I was praying to, what I was requesting in prayer. And it often came down to a relationship with my own earthly father, a wonderful, loving, kind man. But I would always, on the way to school in the morning, I walked to school, and we walked by the little candy store, the little corner store. And if you had a quarter, you could get enough candy to make it through the day. So I would often leave my dad loving notes about how much he was my favorite and how I loved him dearly. And could I perhaps have a quarter by my bed in the morning? I guess I related that to prayer. And I would often pray in such a similar fashion and actually find myself still doing so. God, please help me. Could I please have a quarter? Ellen Davenport, in the 5 Principles, states that asking in the original language was more of a request or a claim, an acknowledgement, such as in ask and it shall be given to you. It was more of a question of if you just ask, you will have what you ask for. I find myself saying the Lord's Prayer frequently with patience and was hit by the phrase, give us this day our daily bread. And it's not a request, please God give necessarily. It's more of a you give, we get. I'm acknowledging that I have everything that I need for today. I'm acknowledging that I understand that the good that's in me is relating to the good of others, and I'm going to have what I need to get through today. It connotates that we will receive what we need for that day. And Jesus modeled this in his own prayers related to us through the Bible. In Mark it says, so I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Matthew 6:8. God knows what you need before you ask him. John 15. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit. Ask for whatever you wish. Through the power of positive thinking, prayer, and communion with God and others, we are able to tap into our well of compassion and calmness, just as Jesus did. In times of deep agitation or distress, Jesus went away from the others and prayed. I have these pictures that I wanted us to look at this morning of images of God. Do you remember those movies from the 70s called Oh God? Who was, you know that actor?
George Burns.
George Burns. He was a great God, wasn't he? Yeah. The best, that's like my first image when I think of this movie is trying to portray God. Charlton Heston, was he Moses or God? Moses. Bruce Almighty. Morgan Freeman. Yeah, Morgan was a great God, wasn't he? The movie The Shack is coming out. I don't know if you've read that book, but for me, The Shack was quite revolutionary in my images of not only God, but the Spirit in particular. And perhaps Jesus, although I thought in the book, the narration of who Jesus was and the image of Jesus that the author was trying to confront or portray was a little bit, in my mind, more stereotypical of what I would have already thought of. But there's a great picture, the characters that they've chosen to play God and the Spirit and Jesus in this movie, I'm really intrigued about. Because I love the concept of God as a larger African-American woman. I just want to be in her presence. And I just feel like when the actor first comes to meet her, like there will be food, and just love food. So I feel like that image of God, that it taps into my imagination in a way that I really appreciate. Living in a household with 2 young boys taps into my imagination in a way that I can't really always get to. Like Logan was just thinking about all the ways that he could do flip-flops around this room. If only we could all think that way. It adds a lot of joy to church that we didn't think about. All the ways that we could use this room. In our prayer life, we may be sitting quietly in a room, out walking in nature, or standing in the shower. We may attempt to imagine God in God's presence. We may picture ourselves having a cup of coffee with a trusted advisor, or we may attempt to envision the spirit guides, ancestors, and others. Understanding that positive emotions in connection with affirmative prayer allows us to see the big picture in a new way. Experiencing positive emotions actually literally expands your peripheral vision and expands our own ability to tap into the creative thinking around us and to see what it is that we have that's available to us for every situation. Communion with others is also a big part of positivity. What the world needs now is love. In our ministry team meetings, we've been talking a lot about this. Positive emotions help us to want to connect with others and to understand others better. Ooh, wouldn't that be great? It builds a deeper appreciation for others and our commonalities and bridges our cultural differences and misunderstandings. It adds to our resilience and our loving kindness of ourselves and others. The great wonders of the world, if you don't know this, really all tie back to 4th grade math. We've been learning about adding equations? No, what is it when there's a numerator and a denominator? Fractions. We've only been adding them so far, right? We haven't multiplied fractions yet.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Oh, I'm a little behind. Logan says that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, I'm really getting good at adding and subtracting.
Exactly right now we're doing geometry.
We're newly in geometry, which is not great for us. If anyone has any sense. But we know that there has to be a common denominator. And in order to decrease the denominator, we have to increase the numerator. Decrease needless negativity in order to increase positivity. Barbara Fredrickson, in her work on positivity, encourages increasing positivity by being open, appreciative, curious, and kind. Open, creating seeds of kindness through acceptance of new circumstances, inviting change, and letting go. Appreciation of the newfound wonder of our openness and new perspective. Curiosity, pursuing new interests or facilitating new growth. Or being curious about someone else's perspective and what things that they would like to share and teach us. Kindness, loving kindness, meditation, or new connections with others, generating tenderness and compassion for yourself. I believe that when I slow down and try to see events and circumstances from a positive perspective, that the world is open for me and not against me, that the situation that is surrounding me will work for my good and will strengthen and deepen me. I'm able to use my energy to openly and honestly see others. I'm able to appreciate the life that is happening in the moment. I'm curious about others and my connection to others. And I'm able to demonstrate kindness to myself and those around me. So in my imagination, sometimes I just feel there's a song that comes to me. And last time I spoke, I don't know, I think Russ was bragging maybe about this. So someone asked if I would sing this song. So I invite you to close your eyes. Bring to mind something that brings a smile to your face this morning. Something that brings a smile. Maybe not a big smile. Maybe it is a big smile. This is the song that comes to my mind that I feel most alone and I'm having trouble coming to a positive place. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is he, for his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Let not your heart be troubled. These tender words I hear, and resting on his goodness, I lose my doubts and fears. Though by the path he leadeth, but one step I may see, for his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free, for his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Because we know it's that part. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. And that's the part that really, that life circumstances will come and go. We will have times of grief and sadness and mourning and frustration. But understanding that looking on the positive side of things is not only what we're also called to, but we're allowed to tap into that well that Jesus demonstrated, that well of equanimity, of calmness that's deep within us. We've also talked about our bodies, right, and our guts, and that part of us that's just deep down, the part that knows that all things will work for good, the part that knows that these light and momentary troubles are going to pass, and that there's something greater. So I want you to just take a moment now, again, to close your eyes and think about this something greater. As you just let your breath slow, the tensions in your face. Some of you right now can't help but smile, and that's okay too. Your seat is holding you. There's nothing that you need to do right now, but just think about all the good that is for you this morning. All the energies that are for you. The people and the loved ones who are for you. Whether they're here with us or whether they're in the next life. All the situations that are for you. If you're open to it this morning, I just want you to open up your hands, whether they're placed gently on your lap, whether you can be holding them out, as a physical sign that you are here to receive all the good, all the positive, all the help that is yours for the asking. All you need is here. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door is already open. You have all you need. Today's daily bread is yours. All for you need, all that you need for today is here. Active and present. Breathe it in. With gratitude, appreciation, and with acceptance. I sing because I'm happy. I sing